Yeah, the Russians are very good with sleeper agents. We Americans don't have, no other country that we know of uses sleeper agents. A sleeper agent is someone who is taken virtually from birth and trained to be of another nationality. For example, let's say you're born in Russia, and from the age of 2, they take you from your family with your family's acquiescence, and they take you to an American-style town that they've built out in the hinterland in Russia. And they teach you to speak English with an American accent. You watch American TV shows, you watch American movies, you eat American food, you get an American-style education. So I have no idea that you're not American. You speak English just like I do. You know all the same, social references that I make. You follow the Philadelphia Eagles, or the, San Francisco 49ers or whatever. And then they send you to the United States with a fake ID. What they'll do is they'll go through, I was born in 1964, so they'll go through death records from 1964 and they'll look for deaths where the person was only a day or two old. And they'll take that name and the birth date and they'll get a Social Security card with the birth date. And then they'll use the Social Security card to get you a passport, an American passport. So you come here on your American passport, everything's legit. Now your name is, Bob Smith, which was really that baby's name that died. And you get a job, let's say, as a travel agent. And you may work as a travel agent for 20 years and never hear from them. But then they'll activate you and they'll say, we want you to go take care of this target over here.
Kill him.
Yeah. Or we want you to get a job at the Defense Department and give us everything that you can steal. Whatever. There's a woman in my neighborhood who was outed as a sleeper about a year ago. She was an elementary school teacher and they grabbed her and they ended up trading her back to the Russians for 2 Americans. So they're out there. I interviewed a sleeper, a former sleeper, on my own podcast a couple of weeks ago. He was from the East German Intelligence Service, and he was raised as an American and sent to New York. He got a job, I forget doing what, like restaurant supply company or something like that. And he got married and he had a daughter. And he told me, as soon as I looked at her face the day she was born, I realized this life wasn't for me anymore. So they send him an activation. What they do is they'll send you a radio message, and he didn't respond to it. And he told me he was on the subway one day. He's just standing there holding the strap. And this guy came up to him, and the guy grabs the strap next to him and whispers in his ear, if you don't report back, I have to kill you. And so he ran straight to the FBI field office in New York. And he said, I'm an East German sleeper, and I want to turn myself in. And he became a prolific source for the FBI. The next morning, everybody's gathered around my phone. We're all just sitting there looking at the phone, like 1 minute to 10. It rings. And I was like, I knew I scared him. And so he said, I've given your offer some thought. When can we meet? I said, in 2 hours at such and such a hotel. The lobby had a coffee shop. We had every table. We took every table. Every table had an armed CIA officer there. And I said, come alone and come unarmed. And he came alone, and I got up, I gave him a big bear hug to make it look normal, and I patted him down for weapons. He was unarmed, and he sat down and asked me what I wanted. I was very specific with what I wanted. And I said, what do you want? He said, what are you offering? I said, relocation if you want it. I mean, not tomorrow. We're going to have some work to do. But if you want to move to the United States, he didn't. He wanted to move to another Arab country, which was fine. We gave him a more money than one person can carry at a time. And even my station chief came up to me and he said, I've been here for 25 years. This was the most creative operation I've ever seen. And this was my first tour. And I said, I wish I could take credit for it. Well, what do you mean? He says. I said, Gus told me to do this. It was his idea. And he's like, fucking Gus. He hated him. He hated him. And then poor Gus, the older he got, the sicker he got. He, as you might imagine, he had a blood pressure problem.
Yeah.
And that led to a series of mini strokes. And every time he would have a mini stroke, he would get meaner. To the point one time,
an actual personality shift?
It was a personality change. Man. It got to the point where he somehow got it into his head that I told somebody that I had seen him escorted out of the building with the cops. I said, what are you talking about? 3 weeks ago, you told Alan that... I said, Gus, I've been in Pakistan for 6 months. I don't know what you're talking about. I just got back from Pakistan a couple days ago. I haven't seen Alan in years. I don't know what you're talking about. But someone actually called security because of the way he was screaming at me in the hallway. And a mutual friend of ours was like, look, he keeps having these mini strokes. He's not himself. And then it got to the point, and this is kind of a sad, sort of ignominious way to end such a proud career. He got it into his head that George Tenet, who was the CIA director at the time, had denied him a good parking space. And he started emailing George. Yeah, directly. Because everybody in the agency knows George's email address. I mean, I think that's exactly right. We've forced them together. We really have. So how, look at it this way: if I don't like whoever happens to be in the White House, and I go to demonstrations and my fist is in the air, and I don't like this person's policy, and then the Russians attack, I'm going to pick up a gun and I'm going to fight the Russians.
Oh, for sure. No matter who attacks, of course.
No matter who attacks.
Right, but human nature gets suspended for our adversaries because they're not human beings. So they're not going to behave in ways that we would recognize. They're totally irrational. It's a suicide cult or whatever they're telling you on Fox News. But the point is that you will suspend all rational analysis and because you can't predict people like that other than they want to kill.
You're right. And when the only analysis that you're getting or paying attention to is from either the Israelis or the MEK, the Mujahideen Khalq, which is really no more than a quasi-communist cult, then you can't rely on the information.
Okay, so can you explain the MEK? So
sure.
there are big allies in Iran, right?
Yeah, which just sends chills up my spine.
Okay, so who are they?
So they were founded by a husband and wife team back in the 60s. And in the 70s, they were based in Iraq, northeastern Iraq, and they would launch these cross-border attacks into Iran. Deep into Iran, like in Tehran, terrorist attacks. They attempted to murder the American ambassador. They attempted to murder a 3-star general who was the senior most American military official in Iran. They've carried out anti-American terrorist attacks over the course of decades.
Anti-American.
And then they switched sides. When Saddam Hussein pushed them out of Iraq, they relocated mostly to Paris. Yeah. Now, the husband disappeared.
It's always Paris.
Always Paris.
Well, that's where the Ayatollah Khomeini lived until 1979.
For years.
Yeah.
And that's where the Greek, what became the Greek terrorist groups, 17 November and Popular Revolutionary Struggle, they started in Paris.
That's where Pol Pot started.
Pol Pot studied in Paris.
Yep.
Karl Marx's daughter married Paul Lafargue, the father of French communism. So Paris is kind of a screwed up place. It can be. Anyway, Miriam Rajavi's husband vanished, never to be seen again. The conventional wisdom is that she killed him or had him killed, and she took over the MEK. So in 2009, when Barack Obama is elected president, Hillary Clinton becomes God forbid, becomes Secretary of State. The MEK hires some of the most high-powered lobbyists in Washington to get them off the terrorism list. And they engaged with both Democrats and Republicans. I mean, everybody from Howard Dean to Rudy Giuliani.
Howard Dean was lobbying for MEK?
Oh, yeah. And Rudy Giuliani.
That's
You
pathetic.
should see the pictures of them together. It's sickening. At these big banquets in Washington to raise money for the
These are the
MEK.
people who tried to kill the U.S. ambassador?
But they're the good guys now.